It's pretty wild to think that the exact same kind of technology that guided humans to the moon is now something millions of us wear on our wrists every single day. And that little piece of tech, it might just save a life. It's a journey that stretches from old, rattling airplanes all the way to the smart devices we can't live without. So how in the world did that happen? How did a piece of the Apollo guidance computer shrink down and end up in your fitness tracker? And maybe more importantly, how does this tiny chip perform what could be its most important job ever, detecting something as serious as a life-threatening fall? Okay, let's get into it.
To really get what's happening now, we have to jump back in time. The whole story of your smartwatch's brain, well, it started way before smartwatches were even a thing. It all began with a basic need to just understand movement.
It really kicks off back in the 1920s, with these clunky mechanical sensors designed just to keep early airplanes flying straight. Fast forward to the 60s, and NASA takes that idea and basically supercharges it for the Apollo missions. You kind of need to know where you're going in space, right? But the real game changer? That came in the 90s, with tech that shrunk these things down to a microscopic scale, making them cheap enough to put in, well, everything. And today, they are literally everywhere.
So, all of this incredible tech gets bundled into one tiny, amazing package. The Inertial Measurement Unit, or as you'll hear it called, the IMU. That's it. That's the little sensor at the heart of pretty much any smart device that tracks motion. But how does a tiny little chip actually feel motion? It really comes down to two key parts working together as a team: accelerometers and gyroscopes. Let's break down what each one actually does.
First up, you've got the accelerometer. Its whole job is to measure linear acceleration. So think of any movement in a straight line, your body lurching forward when you start to run, or even just the constant pull of gravity keeping you on the ground. That's what the accelerometer is paying attention to.
Now, not all accelerometers are built the same. Some are designed for massive impacts, like telling a car's airbag to deploy. But for what we're talking about, the device on your wrist, the real hero is the capacitive type. Why? Because it sips power and it's super sensitive to subtle movements, which makes it absolutely perfect for a wearable. But moving in a straight line is only half the story, right? That's where its partner, the gyroscope, comes in. This one measures angular velocity, or to put it simply, rotation. Every single time you twist your wrist to check a notification or your phone screen magically flips from portrait to landscape, yep, that's the gyroscope sensing that change in orientation.
And here's where you can see how they work together so perfectly. Just picture yourself walking. The accelerometer is picking up on that forward and back, up and down swing of your arm. But at the exact same time, the gyroscope is sensing the tiny little twist of your wrist that happens with every step. Alone, each sensor only has part of the story. But together, they get the whole picture.
So when you combine the accelerometer for that straight line motion and the gyroscope for all the twisting and turning, you're almost there. The final piece of the puzzle is usually a magnetometer. It basically acts like a tiny digital compass to keep everything oriented correctly. And all three of those together make up the complete IMU. And what you get from that amazing combination is what engineers call 6-degree of freedom tracking. What that really means is the device can sense its movement in every direction, forward and back, up and down, side to side, plus all the rotation, like tilting and turning. It gives it a complete awareness of how it's moving through space. It's incredible. Okay, so we have this amazing tech. It's great for counting our steps and tracking our sleep, for sure. But it can do something so much more important. It can actually be the first line of defense in a real medical emergency.
And the stakes here are unbelievably high. For older adults, a fall isn't just a small accident. It is a leading cause of very serious injury. And how fast someone gets help can literally be the difference between life and death.
And I want you to understand the scale of this problem. This isn't some rare thing that happens. According to the World Health Organization, somewhere between 28 and 35% of people over 65 fall every single year. That is a staggering number. We're talking about millions and millions of people.
And if you look at the data from the WHO, it's just stark. The rate of fatal falls doesn't just go up with age, it explodes. Look at the jump for people over 85 compared to those just 10 years younger. This is exactly why having a system that can detect a fall automatically is so critical.
So how does the watch actually know it's a real fall and not something else? Well, it's a really clever algorithm that's looking for a very specific chain of events. First, the accelerometer sees a huge, sudden spike in g-force. That's the impact. At the same time, the gyroscope sees a fast, chaotic rotation. That's the loss of balance. And then, and this is the key, it looks for a period where there's no movement at all. If that whole sequence happens, boom, the device triggers an alert to call for help.
But as incredible as this tech is, it's not foolproof. I mean, think about it. Telling the difference between a real fall and all the other crazy movements we make every day, that is a massive challenge, and engineers are still working to get it perfect. Yeah, there are some pretty big hurdles. You've got things like motion artifacts. How does it know you're jogging and not just in a bumpy car? The gyroscopes can drift over time as tiny errors add up. And of course, there's the biggest one of all, false positives. How does it know you actually fell and didn't just drop your watch on the floor? It's a tough problem to solve.
So the answer isn't just about building better hardware. The real solution is in much, much smarter software. The key is this idea called sensor fusion, where these really advanced algorithms are blending data from the IMU with other sensors, maybe your heart rate monitor, to get a clearer, more accurate picture of what's really going on.
And the next step? Oh, this is where it gets really exciting. Imagine AI-driven systems that don't just use a generic model for what a fall looks like. We're talking about systems that actually learn your specific movement patterns, your unique walk, your daily habits, to give you tracking that is completely personalized and way more accurate.
Which brings us to a final and really crucial question. This technology is getting so personal. It's learning the very rhythm of how we live our lives. So as it gets smarter and deeper into our daily routines, how do we strike the right balance? How do we weigh its incredible, life-saving potential against the really big questions this raises about our data and our privacy? That's the conversation we're all going to need to have.